Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Schuster and I are back with Fearing the Reaper Part 2, ranking the albums of Blue Oyster Cult. In Part 1, we went through albums 15 through 9, and in Part 2, you guessed it, we're going to go through albums uh, 8 through 1. Now, I did fail to mention this in terms of a bit of Boys to Cult history. They did manage to sell, and I found this number quite astonishing. I thought it would be more. But in terms of record sales, they were able to sell 25 million copies worldwide, 7 million alone in the US. I thought that would have been a lot higher number, given the fact that they've been around since 72, releasing albums. But that's the way it is, right? To me, as I said in part one, Boys to Cult have always been a band that were a concert draw. You know, they made their money through selling tickets for concerts. But yeah, we had so much fun in part one. We're gonna do a part two. So I will pass the virtual mic over to Mr. Schuster, who I like to call Bluebeard. Boys to Cult, Bluebeard. Get the reference? There you go. Um, anyways, Bill, what is your number eight?
All right. I do want to say for those who survived the first part of this two-part episode, we don't have the budget to send out I Survived Part One t-shirts anymore, but the thought is there. So
We
thank you
hear
for coming
you.
back for Part One. There will be
We
more.
hear you. We feel you. Okay, there we go. Okay. We're here for
All right.
you. Okay, go ahead.
All right. You've already mentioned my number eight. This again is a very contentious one in the catalog, but this was my first album of new material after I actually became a fan.
Hmm.
And some people call this version 30C. It's Club Ninja. Oh, yeah. I forgot I was showing where the chrono symbol is on each album cover. You can't miss it here. It's the whole damn space station.
There you go.
Um, yeah, this, of course, was the follow up to Revolution by Night, which was the first one without Albert Bouchard. In between that and the Club Ninja, Alan Lanier chose to leave the band. So you're down to Eric Bloom, Donald Roser,
Yeah.
and Joe Bouchard at this point. The only album by that trio. Rick Downey's already gone on drums at this point. The actual lineup on this, Tommy Price is credited with drums, but he isn't even listed as a member in the credits. He's down below the band credits. Jimmy Wilcox is listed as background vocals and percussion because I think he was more their live drummer at that time. And Tommy's Von Check, synthesizers, piano, and organ. Now, Tommy is all over this album, and he takes a lot of crap from some segments of the BOC fan community, but he's been pretty clear on it. You know what? I was a hired guy. I did my job, and it's what they asked me to do. And frankly, I think he did it well. Now, I get what Armando was saying in our previous episode about this sounding like 1985 too much. But for me, that's one of the reasons I like it so much because it's such a weird, unique item in their catalog. I mean, the lineup alone, but also, yeah, that sound, it is 1985. And I think it's very interesting. The lack of Albert shows even more on this album because they had four of the nine songs written completely by outsiders who were not part of the band's circle. So that's pretty big on a Blue Oyster Cult album. That's absolutely huge. But still, Armando had mentioned "Make Rock Not War" earlier, and I get how that's goofy, but I always really liked the song anyway.
Okay.
Despite the cheesy chorus, if you kind of overlook that chorus, it's a cool heavy rock anti-war anthem. And as a teenager at the time, I was like 17 when this came out, so it
Yeah.
was right up my alley. Uh, yeah, "Make Rock Not War" and "Beat 'Em Up" are the two Bob Halligan Jr. songwriting contributions here. Bob, of course, had success with Judas Priest the prior year with some "Heads Are Gonna Roll." So I think they were hoping for more of the same, and they didn't quite get it. The one song that really jumped out here and did get some video play and a little bit of rock radio play was Dancing in the Ruins, which was another song written by outsiders. And then, yeah, it seemed like they were trying to come up with a sequel to Burning for You, basically. Uh, it's a cool song, though. It's a, they had this whole post apocalyptic video, and I really like it quite a bit, even though the guys didn't write it themselves. It has pop hooks, catchy as hell, has Buck's smooth pop vocals on it. So yeah, I dig it. White Flags, the opener, was originally written and recorded by the Legat brothers. And if you've ever heard the original at all, frankly, it's not all that different from the Legat brothers recording. So I dig the song, but how much of a Blue Oyster Cult song is it really? I don't know. Perfect Water is the song that has survived the most into the future on this. It's one they have played live a lot over the years, and it's a great song. Donald Roser's co-write with Jim Carroll of Basketball Diaries fame. Jim has, of course, been referenced and has co-written things, collaborated with Blue Oyster Cult members and associates over the years. Uh, One of my favorites is cheesy as hell. When the War Comes, it has the chant Ooga Chaka, which for some people takes it too far in the cheese, and I get that. But if you
Yeah.
get past that, just think it's part of the times. Uh, I really like to set up the song. You got Howard Stern, who, if I remember right, is related to Eric Bloom by marriage. Howard Stern, the famous controversial disc jockey, talk radio guy, did the opening voice intro, and then they get into this whole chanting thing. A vision of revolution. I just think it's a really cool, heavy sounding song. So yeah, is this album locked in time? Yeah, but if you've watched me on very many of these things, you undoubtedly heard me say before about how I like albums like that. I want them to sound like the time they came out. I want to be able to see them as a time capsule and go back and say,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm back in 1985 right now. I remember getting this album. So there is a definite element of nostalgia in
Yeah.
my ranking for
Yeah.
this. Uh, yeah, it's an imperfect album, but it's near and dear to my heart because, as I said, it was my first new BOC album as a fan.
So basically, its imperfections make it perfect for you.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
There you go.
I get why
There you
some people don't like it, though. Absolutely.
go.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
there's the back.
Okay.
I showed that with the cool ninja throwing the BOC symbol there.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this quick question. I've always said that a band's or an artist's first responsibility is to themselves in terms of the music they're making. W- With this album, do you think that they were satisfying their creative processes, or were they going for no? Okay.
No,
Or were they trying to follow the trend?
I think they were just kind of trying to put out product at this point, like the record company wanted new material. And I mean, yeah, it's like
Yeah,
we have to continue the band. We're gonna have to put out something new. So I don't know that their hearts were all in this stuff.
I got it. I
So
got
I'm
it.
aware of that when I'm listening to it, but it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the album. I accept it for the flawed thing that it is.
Okay, I'll say this. As much as I love Queen, every band has a hot space in their catalog.
Pretty
And
much,
this is Blue Oyster Cult's hot space. Okay,
absolutely.
I'm gonna say that. Okay. It's like, okay. Long Live Seven Seas of Rye remix. Here we go. Um, inside joke. Okay. My number eight, ladies and gentlemen, starting off part two of Fear and the Reaper. Heaven forbid. Uh, Again, straightforward rock, really good. 10 years between this release, released in 98, between this and Imaginos. Again, straightforward, good rock album. See You in Black, Harvest Moon. X-Ray Eyes, Hammerback, Damaged. All of these are just really good heavy rock songs, just wonderfully done. I do not hear the correlation between Still Burning and Burning for You. I don't hear it. It ain't there. Whoever said it was a sequel, you're nuts. Ain't going. It ain't there. Um, 11 tracks in total. I do like the final live track in the
Indeed.
um, Alan Lanier track at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Um, when this album first came out, I was oblivious to it. I didn't even know it existed. I do like the Phantom of the Opera tinged themed cover. Um, I think this album needs to be listened to a little more. If I do another ranking, maybe this would go higher, but right now it's number 8 for me. All
Cool.
right.
Yeah, to me, it's cool to see somebody who's not as familiar with the catalog rank that album so high. So, because yeah, even though mine I ranked it lower, I still love that album. So yeah, right on.
Yep. You're number 7.
My number 7. All right, we're going back to the beginning. You mentioned it a long, long time ago. This is the debut Blue Oyster Cult. I'm gonna get the uncovered cover here without the hype sticker. The first of these classic Bill Golick covers. The second, of course, is Tyranny Mutation up there. You can see the particular style.
I see the correlation.
Yeah, they're very much connected. They're really cool. You can see the little doorways inside these things, and of course, there's the Chronos symbol dead center. It's not huge, but it's conspicuous in its central
As
location.
showing what's to come.
There's the back cover. Yeah, this I'd mentioned the Stock Forest group earlier, and this kind of carries on from that, but with that idea in mind that the record company wanted that new Black Sabbath instead of that new Grateful Dead kind of thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has a similar sound. They just got heavier on some things, and the lyrics got a little darker. And I don't know if they got weirder. Stock Forest Group had some pretty weird lyrics too, because the same guys were doing
Yeah.
Meltzer and Perlman, those two in particular. But this it has some great songs on it. Now, I've never been a fan of "I'm on the Lamb, but I Ain't No Sheep," which became the Red and the Black on Tyranny Mutation in a speeded up, heavier version. I've never been a fan of that song either. So I don't mind it, but its presence in different titles on these two albums probably caused them to rank a notch lower than they might have otherwise. It's a big
Yeah.
fan favorite, especially the Red and Black. But
Yeah.
then came the last days of May, though, the first great Donald Roser song. The only problem is, even though I love this version, the version on their first live album, "On Your Feet or On Your Knees," is the perfect version of that song. So I can't help but hear that echoing in my head when I listen to the studio version.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing Armando had mentioned earlier was the sound on this album. And I get that. I get the production issues, the recording issues, but to me, that's part of its personality. It's part of what I like about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I trace that back to like why Nursery Crime is one of my favorite Genesis albums, for example. We've talked
I
about that
get that.
before.
I get that.
It's like that musty, dusty, spooky, gringy, grimy production. It
Yeah.
fits the material and the era. So I think that's just part of its personality. Uh, Before the Kiss, "A Red Cap" is a great, weird song. That's one of those literally about occurrences in a biker bar. You were talking about them being put out there as this biker band, and yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
Screams and "She's as Beautiful as a Foot," that open side two. I think of those as a pair. They always should be listened together. Screams kind of trails off into the opening of "She's as Beautiful as a Foot."
That title though, man. Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it was originally "He's as Beautiful as a Foot" and written as a dig at their former lead singer Les Bronstein. But of course,
Okay.
there's no way that Macho Man Eric was ever going to sing a song called "He's as Beautiful as a Foot."
How dare he?
Yes,
God forbid.
but yeah,
Ooh.
either way, these two songs they're very different, but a nice match. And they're creepy
Yeah,
as hell and fit with that early mysterious vibe. Like, what are these guys even? What does this mean? Don't put your blood or put your mouth on the bloody tooth mark there. What?
yeah, I know. It's
Yeah, it's Cities on Flame with rock and roll. That was probably Albert Bouchard's first Stone Cold classic. He wrote it, he sang it. Uh, Eric would take over the vocals live, but on here you got Albert, and yeah, this song kicks ass. Of course, it's also famously a ripoff of "The Wizard" by Black Sabbath.
mhm.
And you can also throw in the Court of the
Oh,
Crimson, or I'm sorry, 21st Century Schizoid Man by King Crimson. Just listen to all three of those songs
yeah,
and see what you come up with.
yeah,
So again, a case of Albert taking his tribute a little too far. Yeah, I like the album for what it is. It used to be way lower on my list, but I've really in recent years I've come around on the black and white era a lot,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
because the other two have yet to be mentioned in my list. So there you go.
Hmm.
So yeah, my number seven is the debut Blue Oyster Cult.
Cool. And you mentioned Black Sabbath. Let's not forget they also toured together on the Black and Blue tour because they were under the same management at one time. Just a little side note there. Yeah.
Oh, it'll be coming back up later.
Not that we go off topic in these episodes, ladies and gentlemen, but we do. Anyways, no, it's a good one. It's a good one. I maybe need to sit with it some more, but it's like people say the first Queen album, or now it's called Queen One, has a muddy sound. But to me, that's part of its charm, right? I've been with Queen One since I was 12. You
You'll
know,
never get me to call it Queen One ever. No more than I'll call Star Wars A New Hope. No, it's
yeah.
Queen. Period.
No, I
Yeah.
got you. I
And
got
it
you.
has a great sound. I don't care what them people say. Brian's guitars are like a freaking razor on that album. But that is a tangent.
Yeah. Okay. Tangent over. Now, my number
You know
seven,
I
ladies
love
and
that
gentlemen.
album. So yeah.
Oh, I know, I know, I know. His favorite album is Queen. My favorite album is Queen too. Uh, Together we're a pair. All right, moving on. Okay, my number seven, ladies and gentlemen, is "Curse of the Hidden Mirror" from 2001. This would be the last album that they record of original material until the release of "The Symbol Remains" in 2020. Again, a, a fantastic rock album. Unfortunately, this album did not hit with the single "Pocket." Songs like "Dance on Stilts," "Showtime," "The Old Gods Return," "Pocket," track four, the single. Just a really good album. Just a really good rock album. And unfortunately, it didn't hit. I mean, at this point, you know, they were just grasping at straws. And um, I'm sorry, it is what it is. Other songs of note, "I Just Like to Be Bad," "One Step Ahead of the Devil," "Here Comes That Feeling," "The Darkness," "Stone of Love," sorry, "Eye of the Hurricane," and it ends with "Good to Feel Hungry." It's a good rock album. Again, could it have been promoted more? Yeah. And the reason why they didn't record albums until "The Symbol Remains" is Eric Bloom had stated in interviews that they weren't going to record new material if people weren't going to buy it. Because as he said, it costs a lot of money to record an album. And if they're not going to get anything on their, any returns on their output, what is the bloody point? But unfortunately, this album went under the radar, whether it was bad promotion or lack of promotion or no promotion whatsoever. It's a shame because it is a good album. So that's my number seven, The Curse of the Hidden Mirror.
Yeah, I think I heard Pocket on my local rock station for about 2 seconds, and it was it. Boom, done. Yeah, I'm surprised I heard it at all, frankly.
It's unfortunate because A lot of these legacy bands get swept under the fucking rug.
They do, even though they're
They
creating
do.
great material. Uh,
They do. I mean, and I don't bloody get it. I don't get it. I mean,
yeah, this album had a lot of killer songs on it that would have fit in nicely on any modern rock radio format at the time. But
exactly. Exactly. All right, you're number six.
my number six, all right, we're going with that black and white period again.
Fuck.
Tyranny and Mutation. My God, look at that cover. Don't get dizzy. There's the Chronos symbol, dead center
I,
again.
I know. Ah! No,
Ooh.
okay, okay, okay. I am getting
You give
dizzy.
people vertigo.
Nah. It's like,
Okay, this was a kind of a refinement of the first album here. A little tighter, only 8 songs instead of 10, 4 songs per side, and a little heavier too, marginally. But of course, again, it opens with the red and the black, which is, of course, I'm on the lam, but I ain't no sheep redone faster and harder. So I've already said
mm,
my piece on that. Hot Rails to Hell, the third song, Joe Bichard song, that's another one of those that I dig the studio version, but I prefer the live version.
yeah, I
Uh,
get what you're saying. Yeah.
it's on here they say trying to leave, but darn well. Sorry, but when you say darn and you're supposed to be this dark, heavy,
Mysterious heavy band. Yeah.
yeah. But on the live album, they say damn well. And frankly, I think that just fits better. When I
Yeah.
hear them say darn, it kind of takes me out of the vibe. It's weird. It doesn't quite match.
Yeah.
Darn's like, well, darn, fellas. I,
Gosh darn it. Yeah. It's like,
it doesn't sound like something you're going to be scared of.
I get it.
Hot rails
100%.
to what? Darn, you think the devil's going to be saying, well, darn, guys, I'm glad you came to visit me on those hot rails to hell. I don't think so. But anyway, that's, yeah,
That's
neither here
another
nor
story.
there. Yeah.
I get
Seven
it.
Screaming Diz Busters. Well, a Diz Buster, the story behind that is one of the stories is that lyric refers to as a male's private parts, and I'll just leave it there. So you can use your imagination on the rest. But the song is cool as
Never
hell.
mind. Go
Eric's
on.
countdown, where he counts down to one at the end, and the song just ends. But
Yeah.
that's the black side. Side two is the red, and I prefer side two overall. Most people like side one better. That's the stuff that gets the attention. But these 4 tracks, Baby Ice Dog, Wings Wetted Down, Teen Archer, and Mistress of the Salmon Salt, subtitled Quicklime Girl. That's where the action is for me on this album.
Yeah.
These are some of the obscure Blue Oyster Cult tracks here. Uh, they barely get any attention. They did revive Mistress of the Salmon Salt on that A Long Day's Night video and live album they did in 2002 with that version of the band, which I thought was really cool. Um, nice to see them give attention to that later on. Wings Wetted Down is one of their great vampire songs. It's also an Albert and Joe Bichard collaboration. And those guys have written a good chunk of my favorite BOC songs, some of them
Hmm.
together, some of which will be mentioned in the future here. Now, Baby Ice Dog is the first Patti Smith co-write. Her and
Yeah.
Albert and Eric. She was Alan Lanier's girlfriend for a good chunk, and was friends with him in general. Part of that whole New York scene that
Yeah.
oddly enough, these guys are seen as a heavy metal band, but they were involved in this whole New York early punk scene, which is kind of strange. But there you go. They were, as you had said earlier, pushed to be something that they were not necessarily
Comfortable
originally.
with. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it might seem strange to some that punk poetess Patti Smith would be that involved with Blue Oyster Cult, but not so much
Yeah.
with the origins of all this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've come to love this album quite a bit in recent years. It almost went higher. It almost was my number 5, but not quite. Yeah. So yeah, Tyranny Mutation. That's my number six.
Good choice. Good choice. You see, again, these albums, the black and white albums, the trilogy, and they're new to me. So even though I've got the box set and the Bermuda Triangle across the hall, I need to sit down and really listen to it. Maybe if they, for me, if they cleaned up the first one just a little bit, not do a Queen one, okay. But enough said. But just a little cleanup. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, it's just,
When
uh,
you're coming to these albums for the first time, if you're only familiar with uh, their later stuff, I mean, by later, I mean starting with Agents of Fortune and Don't Fear the
yeah,
Reaper.
yeah,
Starting with that album, the sound changed a lot.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, they started writing separately, and well, we'll get into that. But
yeah.
yeah, I
No,
can
it's
see
true.
these first three are kind of a different world.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and another little side note, I understand what you mean about listening to certain versions of songs. Like my first listen to "Now I'm Here" from Queen was on the Live Killers
Yeah, there's a few songs on that album that I
album.
still think of as the proper versions. I get that.
And for me, the definitive live version or the definitive version of Now I'm Here is on Live Killer. Starts off side two, track one, 8 minutes and change. Boom, away you go. You know how he does the Roger Taylor may hate that album, but you know, the guitar, the tempo is faster, the drums are heavier, beefier, the vocals that Freddie does, the vocal give and take with the audience, and a runner-up for that is when they did a benefit album, Concerts for the People of Kampuchea from 1981, which is released on Atlantic Records, where a bunch of bands like Elvis Costello and the Attractions, the Blockheads, the Pretenders, Paul McCartney, all these bands that came together to do benefit concerts. Queen did an entire set, an entire show, and their version of Now I'm Here is on that benefit album. But for me, when I hear Now I'm Here, the first version I think of is the Live Killers version. It's almost like word association, but with music, right? But I get what you're saying. Okay, tirade over. My number six.
There'll
Good
be
luck.
more.
Good luck. Good luck. My number six is "The Symbol Remains" from 2020, their last album of original new material. Released through Frontiers Records. And when I tried to get this album in 2022, good luck. Wasn't available. Frontiers has a history of releasing their product for a short period of time initially. Won't go there. This is a good album, a good heavy rock, solid album. Melodic as all get out. With songs like "That Was Me," "Box in My Head," "Tainted Blood." Another good one, "Nightmare Epiphany," "Edge of the World," "The Machine." Yeah, uh, you know, "Train True," Lenny's song. It's a good album. It's a really good rock album. Other songs to note: "The Return of Saint Cecilia," featuring Richie Castellano, "Stand and Fight," "Florida Man," "The Alchemist." A heavy track written by Richie Castellano, sung for by Eric Bloom, 6 minutes even. Heavy as all fucking get out. I'm sorry, it's a heavy track, but it's a good album. It's a good album overall. Could they have ended off at 13 tracks instead of 14? Yeah, yeah. Fight, it's all right as an ender, but there's a crime featuring Kasim Sultan on backing vocals, worked with Meatloaf. Again, gang vocals that come in, right? On the chorus. A good, heavy rock album with a good melodic sensibility. And when you get people like Richie Castellano in the band, you're going to get that. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get different flavors, different colors coming in. But you know what? It's a good album. That's my number six. The Symbol Remains from 2020. I was gonna say 2001. 2020. There was coffee in the cup, I promise. But go ahead. Bill, I can't speak for. But
All right. Well, obviously, I disagree with you on the symbol remains, considering I ranked it as the very bottom of the stack for their albums of new original material at number 14. So, yeah.
you're
But,
forgiven. You're
and I
forgiven.
forgot to mention how irritating Train True is when I talked about the album. Ding dang, fiddly dang, whatever the crap Buck's singing there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was hoping I was going to learn to love this album, but I just
It's,
haven't.
it's number six. It's not number one. So I mean, it's, that's a yeah, ding dang for that. Okay, what the okay, go on. All right, you number five.
All right, my number five. This, for a lot of people, especially casual fans, is their number one. It's obviously the big seller because it has the big hit on it. You know what it is. It's right behind me up there. It's Agents of Fortune, the hype sticker. These are all these ones with the bonus tracks. I'm not looking at bonus tracks in any of them. It's just the original track listing for each of them that I'm discussing there. There's the gatefold. The one up there's the original gatefold too, but I didn't bother to open it up. Um, there's the gist of what the original gatefold looks like on the inside. The guys around a table gambling. But yeah, to go along with the Agents of Fortune theme,
Yeah,
um, I think I've always had a problem with this album, partly because of the presence of Don't Fear the Reaper. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a
really?
Stone Cold classic,
Okay.
but it's omnipresent. It's you can't get away from that song. It's in so many different forms of media. It's like the term Blue Oyster Cult comes up, and instantly it's Don't Fear the Reaper. It's
Yeah.
inescapable. So it's like this looming presence on the album. It's like this giant glowing radioactive thing surrounded by everything else, and it's hard for me to judge it as an album with that albatross hanging over its neck. Um, so I've had a difficult time with this album, but I've been re-listening to it lately, and I realized how many Albert songs are on here. Not Reaper, not ETI, which is another Donald song along with Reaper, uh, but there's five of these songs are Albert Bouchard songs musically. Two of them co-written with Patti Smith, two of them with Helen Robbins, also known as Helen Wheels, who was the late Helen Wheels was a frequent collaborator with these guys also, and
Yeah.
from that same New York scene.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, Albert's really all over this album, and so I've been concentrating more on his songs. This Ain't the Summer of Love, The Revenge of Vera Gemini, Sinful Love, Tattoo Vampire, and of course Debbie Denise.
I like Debbie Denise. Yeah,
I,
I
I
like
do
that.
too. That's one of the Patti Smith. Originally,
Correct.
that was again supposed to be an ode to Patty's lesbian lover. Uh, Patty was singing to Debbie Denise. Yeah, but it ended up being a song about this guy going out and
What? I mean,
yeah,
that's
there's a lot of
like
lore with this band. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's Albert
I
was
didn't
singing
know
the
she swung
song,
that
playing
way.
the part of this guy that's left this woman at home while he's out rolling with his band. But,
Exactly.
Patty was originally singing it. She was out rolling with her man, but they changed it rather than Albert singing, I was out rolling with my man. He changed it to band, and the rest is history. But it's a great little pop tune. And that's the thing about this album. This was the first one after the black and white period, and they each got their own little recording devices, and they all went off in their own separate spaces and started writing alone.
Yeah.
And, boom, full color all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Started coming up with odd, different ideas and less of a band
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
And that's pretty important moving on. Uh, this also features the only time that Alan Lanier in his 7 songwriting credits or co-credits with the band, would sing a lead vocal, and that is on True Confessions. And while I enjoy it for what it is, man, to put this song second on the album right before Don't Fear the Reaper does True Confessions no favors whatsoever. Uh,
Okay.
I, I've always found that a very curious choice.
In
Putting
terms of
Reaper third on the
sequencing.
album, yeah, I've always found strange. Frankly, I
Okay.
think that should be a side opener or closer because it does so dominate the things around it.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. This album, I've had a difficult history with it, but I really do like every song on it. And
Two,
Albert Ridley again has some strong songs on it. I mean, Sinful Love and Tattoo Vampire, those are back to back killers with Telling Wheels lyrics. They're both heavy as hell. Um, so yeah, I dig the album. It moved up a notch from where I thought it was going to be, at least one notch, if not two. So there you go. It's just outside of my top four. So it's obviously not bad. My number
okay.
five, Agents of Fortune.
Okay. You shocked me with the Patti Smith. I didn't know she swung that way. Okay. Um, I mean, now I'm not surprised, but I mean, it's like, I'm not even going to go there.
Now, don't quote me that, for sure that Patty had a lesbian lover. I'm just saying that's what the song was about initially.
okay. Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay. Okay. All right.
well, I don't know. Ask Patty.
She scares me. I'm not going to do that. My number five is Spectres from the 77 to follow up to Agents of Fortune. Uh, songs a note for me here: Godzilla, Heavy as All Get Out, uh, Golden Age of Leather. Like, oh, come on, Golden Age. Like, corny, but good. Death Valley Nights, uh, you know, Searching for Celine. Okay, good song. Good song. Fireworks is another one. Are You Ready to Rock? All right. You know, Celestial, the Queen, Going Through the Motions. All these are really good rock songs and wonderful playing. And they had a hell of a time following up, you know, uh, Agents of Fortune because that was their album. Most bands, I've said this before, if you're lucky enough to have a long career, good longevity, you're always going to have an album that sticks out. One signature album. Queen and Night at the Opera. You know, uh, Supertramp, either Crime of the Century or Breakfast in America. With Blue Oyster Cult, either Agents of Fortune or uh, Fire of Unknown Origin. You know what I mean? I'm leaning towards Agents of Fortune for BOC, but
Is their bestseller.
yeah, it is. And again, they had a hell of a time trying to follow it up. And for me, they came through. They came through. It's a good album. Um, they stuck with the color motif. They didn't go back to black and white, which is good. But that's my number five, Spectres from
Yeah,
77.
very,
Right there.
very not black and white there. Spectre's next to
Yeah.
Temptation. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where, number four. Well, you might as well toss these in a hat and see which one I draw first. That's how close these four are. They've all taken turns as my favorite Blue Oyster Cult album. So I knew they were going to be in the top four. This order could change at any given moment. I could go listen to them after we're done recording. It could be different. That's how close they are. So
Hmm.
these are kind of like co number ones. But here's my ranking for today. All right. This is the first after the Tom Werman production issue with Mirrors and Albert's marginalization for whatever reasons. Uh, it's called Cultosaurus erectus. also with a nice price. Um, Oddly enough, this is the only one that my dad and my mom had in their record collections, but neither one of them was apparently a fan of it. So I vaguely remember seeing the record sitting there with all the others, but I don't recall ever hearing it played.
Mm.
Which I could see my parents not necessarily getting into this one at the time, but this was kind of my first visual of Blue Oyster Cult as an entity, seeing
Oh
that in my
boy.
home. Yeah, and of course on the back, you've got look at those slithering dinosaur critters there, and you get into the original album liner notes. There's all kinds of cool stuff on the back,
Hmm.
the fake
Yeah.
fossils and whatever, and there's references to the band's past. My God, I can barely read these. I wish I had my record at the moment, but I do not. They're yeah, found in the Stalk Forest near Oyster Bay, Long Island, New York. Past references. That's
I get it.
yeah, discovered by Professor Victor von Perlman near Stony Brook, New York, courtesy of the Underbelly Institute. Yeah, all these little, yeah,
Yeah, all these little
that's cool
references.
for old school fans that
Pearlman,
know the
yeah,
lore.
underbelly, yeah. I mean, we get it. We get it.
Essentially, this album, I said the production by Tom Werman was a little light on Mirrors, and again, a lack of Albert. Well, here Albert comes back strong, and they bring in a different producer who was known for working with Deep Purple, Rainbow. He produced Rainbow Rising. At this same time, he was producing Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, which you referenced earlier, because Sandy Pearlman had also agreed to be Sabbath's manager along with BOC when they were touring with the Black and Blue. And that's a long, detailed, crappy story where they did not get along, et cetera, et cetera. But Martin would go on to do one more album for both Blue Oyster Cult and Black Sabbath, each of which came out in '81. So that was kind of cool.
Mm,
Four great albums produced by Martin Burke. Same time he was, '81, he was doing Iron Maiden Killers and would go on to become possibly most famous for his productions with Iron Maiden in the '80s.
yeah,
So, this guy brings the heavy.
yeah. He
That's
brings
what
it
they
to the
needed
table.
after
Yeah,
Mirrors.
he brings
And
it all.
so obviously I think Albert knew that's what they needed, and he was like, let's get back to who we are. And Albert brought the goods. My favorite Blue Oyster Cult song is on here. It's the lyric is by Albert's wife Karen, his wife at the time, mind you, same one who has written previous lyrics. They have long been divorced. Albert's been through. I won't get into his relationship history. That's his business. But anyway, the song is Monsters, written by
Ah,
Albert
track
and
two.
Karen.
Track two.
Yeah, Black Blade gets all the attention here. It's another one of those Eric Blue, Michael Moorcock collaborations there. But Monsters is the one for me. It starts out this big heavy dun 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 dun, and yeah, this song is heavy as hell, but it's cool because it's a song about essentially lyrically about this group of people going out and taking a spaceship, stealing it, and going for a joyride.
Ooh,
That's the best interpretation I could come up with.
okay, okay.
The songwriters, you go talk to Karen Bouchard. I don't know if she's still around, but she might be able to tell you specifically. But at one point in the song, the Pasha Deer is the woman involved in this story,
Oh, Pasha Deer.
and
Go on.
at one point there's a line, "We were all going to finally have her, and let Joe be damned." Apparently, Joe and Pasha had a thing, which makes me wonder. Albert's brother Joe would have been Karen's brother-in-law at the time. So I don't know if that's a deliberate connection at all. I'm just speculating there, but I always found that interesting that this character was called Joe. Um, but anyway, yeah, this song not only is heavy, it gets into this cool jazzy breakdown part
That's
more than
right. Yeah,
and that's one of the things I love about it. Again, it goes back to that Albert Bouchard being a jazz fan.
yeah.
So he brings the heavy and he brings the jazz too, and go. It just I absolutely love songs like that. The sax on
Because
there, Mark Rivera.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's a shock to the system. You don't expect it, and you're like,
yeah,
oh, okay,
it's
yeah,
heavy
I
and
like
light.
it. Yeah,
Just I love songs with shades like that, with contrasts. I think that kind of
light and
stuff is
shade,
absolutely brilliant. It keeps my interest.
light and shade. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I love this song. Musically, it's creative as hell. It's all over the place. Lyrically, it's interesting. It's to me, it's the greatest Blue Oyster Cult song. I know I'm in the minority on that, but yeah, I don't care. Um, After that, you got two Donald Roser solo credits, Divine Wind, which was his answer to the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran. At the time, this was the time that hostages from the U.S. had been taken, and we all know the history there, or we don't.
yeah,
Some
yeah,
people don't pay
yeah,
attention to that kind of
yeah,
stuff. But and Deadline was his other one. Side two opened with the Marshall Plan, which featured Don Kirshner of Don Kirshner's rock concert fame for you old folks who remembered that classic show, which always had lots of live bands. Don
yeah,
was, of course, obviously initial in helping the band Kansas get started with their recording career as well.
yeah. On
It's very
Kirshner
important to
Records,
him.
I got yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but this is the rare thing. It's credited to Blue Oyster Cult, the only song that was ever credited to Blue Oyster Cult. So your guess is as good as mine. Who actually really wrote what there? This song is kind of goofy, over the top, fun, just about a guy losing his girl to a band at a show, and then he goes on and becomes a successful rock star named Johnny, who is on Don Kirshner's rock concert. And then, as it turns out, he still loses his Joe or his girl at the show, even though he's the big star
yeah.
now. That's the way it goes at this rock and roll show. So yeah, it's a fun, goofy, heavy song. I dig it. But yeah, Hungry Boys. That's another Albert and Karen Bouchard co-write. That's heavy. Fallen Angel, Joe Bouchard and Helen Wheels at the time here, credited by her actual name, Helen Robbins.
Yeah.
That's a cool, weird song and strangely released as a UK single. I find that a weird single choice. I dig it, but I'm not sure what they were thinking there. Now, Lips in the Hills, excuse me. That's was originally on the Buck Dharma archive too. It was a hold on one moment here. Yeah, there we
Yes.
go. No Traffic was the original name of the Buck Dharma song. Had a whole different lyric, but they changed it up, um, put in a Richard Meltzer lyric, and Eric Bloom has a co-write on it for some reason also. But it becomes more of a classic Blue Oyster Cult vampire song.
Yeah.
Another heavy as hell song here, and we
Hmm.
close it out with another of my favorites, Unknown Tongue, Albert Bouchard and David Roeder, who was another close friend collaborator within the whole band's New York network and scene
Yeah.
there. Um, a lyric about a girl who was, a young Catholic girl who was doing, well, indecent, perhaps demonic things one night.
Un-Catholic
She
things.
slices into her palm and tastes the blood, all this stuff, and then she wakes up the next morning and puts on her clothes, eats breakfast, kisses her mother, and gets on the bus and goes off to school like it's a normal day, which is pretty cool and creepy to go from this dark thing into this totally normal. It's like, this little slice of
Yeah.
life. You never
Yeah.
know kind of dark secrets people have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always love that lyric and I love Albert's music to it. And Eric totally sells the vocal on it. He
Yeah.
does a great job on the vocals on that. So yeah, again, this could have just as easily been number one as number four. They're practically interchangeable. So yeah, I absolutely love Cultosaurus erectus. If you haven't heard it, and you probably haven't unless you're some kind of BOC fan, go get this thing. Yeah, absolutely necessary for a Blue Oyster Cult collection.
Yeah. No, I get you. My number four, Cultosaurus erectus. Whatever, cut and paste what Bill said. We did not confirm on our list. We did not talk. Did we talk about our list? No.
Not really, no. Yeah, that's the first one we've had dead on at the same spot.
There you go. Cut and paste what Bill said. The first of all, the history of this album, going back to Mirrors from '79, the band were going to work with Martin Birch on Mirrors, what was going to become Mirrors. But for some reason, that collaboration at that time fell through. And he came back to work with them on Cultosaurus Erectus. I again cut and paste what Bill said. Heavy as all though as shit in terms of the guitar. I would put this album up there with Back in Black. In terms of the albums that came out at the time, you're looking at Back in Black. You're looking at Genesis Duke. You're looking at all of the mainstream albums that were out at the time. Queen with The Game. This is a good heavy rock album. Black Blade is a fantastic album opener. Monsters is a good track. Uh, Divine Wind, I have my own idea what Divine Wind is for me, but that's another issue. Enough of the fart jokes. Deadline is another good one. The Marshall Plan again. The use of Don Kirshner on this. It's an '80s defining album, but in a good way. We're not talking about use of Lindrum machines or whatever. We're talking about good heavy rock production. This is around the same time that Heavy Metal, the soundtrack, was going to come out, the movie in '81, a year later, which Blue Oyster Cult you know, were contributors to. Um, yeah, it's a disturbing album cover for me. As a 10-year-old looking at that, I would have freaked the shit out of me. But, as a 50 something year old, 55-year-old,
Give him a
uh,
kiss.
yeah, I think it's a good rock album. I think Martin Birch did bring the goods with this album. He did bring out the heavy. This was a return to form for Blue Oyster Cult in terms of Mirrors was looked at as more of a pop-oriented album. To get the hits, did it work? It remained to be seen at the time. But I think that this is a good album. It's again a return to form. Kicks ass when it needs to. Unknown Tongue, disturbing subject matter. Lips in the Hills. Don't even ask me. I'm not even going to go there. But it is a good album, which is why it's my number four.
I've totally been slacking on showing the Chronos symbol. I'm like hit and miss on what I'm remembering, but I do want to point out on this album, it's barely perceptible, and especially on a CD, you're not going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
That thing in front of my finger is like a little airplane, rocket, spaceship, whatever you want to call it. But the
Yeah.
Chronos symbol is on that little craft
Well,
there.
how the hell are you supposed to pick that up on the
Yeah, I mean,
CD?
on the album, obviously, the full size, it's a
It's
little,
bigger. Yeah.
even then,
It's
it's tiny.
yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. All right.
I thought it was
Um.
funny that on an album where they had so many references to their past history that they would shrink the Chronos symbol that much. But
Yeah.
I doubt the
And,
band had much say in it.
well, I mean, and it's true. This album for me, and then I'll shut up. This album for me is one of those albums that, when you think of albums in the 1980s, late 70s into the 1980s, I'm thinking of, okay, Back in Black. Uh, I'm thinking of popular bands at the time. I'm thinking of Eagles, The Long Run. I'm thinking of The Game from Queen. I'm thinking of Duke from Genesis. Like all these popular bands at the time that were releasing albums. This should be up there. I kind of feel that this album kind of gets swept under the rug. That's not talked about as much.
Oh, it
Um,
is.
and I think it should be talked about more. I think it's a really good album. And again, for whatever reason, it didn't work out with Martin Birch on what would become Mirrors. But for Cultosaurus Erectus, he brought the goods. He brought what he needed to bring. And they nailed it. They knocked it out of the fucking park with this album, in my very humble opinion.
I
But
agree.
that's my number four. Cultosaurus Erectus from 1980. Your number
I'm
three?
ready. Number three, or shall we say the second of my four number ones, is
Ah!
is well, this one, as I mentioned earlier, uh, many, if not most, old hardcore Blue Oyster Cult fans will consider this the top, and it could be on another day. But today, Secret Treaties is my number three. Um, yeah, again, I this Flaming Telepaths and Astronomy, they both hit me pretty quickly when I first had this album played for me by my friend that really got me deeper into Blue Oyster Cult back in the mid '80s. But the rest of the album really took some time. I thought Subhuman was kind of cool then, but I didn't really get songs like Dominance and Submission, ME262, KG Cretans. Those songs kind of eluded me for a long time.
Yeah.
Now I absolutely love those songs, especially when I found out what they were about and I was able to dig deeper into lyrics and, well, what they were about. Some of them even now was might be questionable. Some of it's supposed to remain mysterious. Uh, Obviously, ME262, if you dig into the lyrics, is a World War II song. They mentioned Goring and Hitler and Berlin, and yeah,
It's
talks
blatant.
about these
Yeah.
bombers, hung suspended from the sky like some heavy metal fruit, which I thought was a great lyric. But there's a lot of cool lyrics on here.
Yeah.
Uh, there's the back cover of the CD. Speaking of ME262 and bombers and such,
Yeah. Bomb this.
there's
Go
a
on.
color version. Now, if I recall correctly, I have not replaced this on vinyl. I used to have the record, but I'd swear the original had this image, but it was black and white.
Okay.
But I'm not positive. It's been so long. I'm gonna have to check that out. Uh, I do want to kind of show these guys these pictures inside this. Look at Eric with that pose, with those boots, with that hair and the shades. He looks like Jeff Lynne's twin brother. I've
Yeah.
always thought that those guys could pass for each other.
Yeah.
Uh,
They could. They could actually.
There's Donald Buck Darmarosa as he's looked nothing like that for years, but he'll always be known as the guy with that long hair, the mustache, and the white suit.
Yeah.
That's his famous image. There's Albert in his very revealing gold lame trunks and
Mm.
nothing else. Looks like he's a pro wrestler. Of course, this was during their five guitars bit, where all five original members would get on the stage in concert and play guitars at once. Uh, there's brother Joe Bouchard, and of course the ever elusive, creepy, barefoot Alan Lanier, who was always Mr. Mysterious. Uh,
Mm.
Alan remained an enigma to the end, I think. He was kind of the wild card in this band, but
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Secret Treaties, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
According
I
to
think
you. Okay.
Flaming Telepaths and Astronomy is one of the greatest one-two punches in the history of rock and roll to close an album, and one of the few that I can think that is just as strong is still to come on my list.
Mm.
And Astronomy is typically considered to be their best song, the favorite of hardcore fans. I already told you mine's Monsters, but yeah, I love Astronomy.
Mm.
I put it a hair below Flaming Telepaths, but that, yeah, I could quibble. There's been lots of cool versions. I dig the Imaginos Redux version with Donald on vocals instead of Eric. But I want to point out that it's the Bouchard brothers and sometimes Sandy Pearlman that are credited for Astronomy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my number three today, Secret Treaties.
Good one. Good one. My number three, ladies and gentlemen, Mirrors from '79. I've said before about other albums, you know, from bands like a rock album, heavy rock with a good pop sensibility. For me, this is a pop oriented album with a good rock sensibility to it. For me, this is where they were going for the hits. In terms of the production, Tom Werman was producer. I think Columbia at this point were like, okay, guys, we need a fucking hit. You need to give us something. You need to give us Don't Fear the Reaper Part 2. You need to give us something here that we need to cling to get the money in, to get the hits. You have songs like Doctor Music featuring Ellen Foley of Paradise by the Dashboard Light fame on backing vocals. Yes, I did my research. I did. Other songs of note, The Great Sun Jester, In Thee, the studio version of In Thee, Mirrors, a talent track. Uh, just a really good, accessible album in terms of the music that they were writing. The Vigil's another one. I Am the Storm. You're Not the One I Was Looking For. Ha! Okay, you want a song that's going to get your ass kicked by your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend? That's the one. And it doesn't matter what the subject matter is, just that title alone will get your ass kicked.
And just remember,
Wow.
that's Albert's wife at the time that wrote the lyric for it.
Yeah, think about it, Albert. Sure about you. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? And, Lonely Teardrops. Uh, Not the Jackie Wilson, track, okay? But just just a good slab of melodic pop with good rock sensibility to it. They flipped the script on that. They were going for the hit. Did they get it? No, but you know what? Um, Eddie Van Halen said when they were talking about the 5150 album, when they were doing the press junket, Eddie Van Halen said, it may not sell, but it's a good album. You know what I mean? Like it may not hit right away or it may not hit at all, but it doesn't make it a bad album. It's a good album. Um,
Good attitude to have.
yeah, and that album hit. That's not 5150 hit. Okay, let's not go there. Uh, Van Hagar. But yeah, I like this album. I liked it more than I thought it would, which is why it's number three. Mirrors. I just again, they were going for the hit single on this. Uh, did it work? On some levels it did, and other levels it didn't, which is why they went back to the more heavier rock sound with uh, Cultosaurus erectus, with Martin Birch on production. I would have liked to have seen what he would have done with this music, with this album.
I would have loved to have heard Martin, especially on The Vigil and I Am the Storm. Those two songs,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, I want to hear them with some heavy added to them.
yeah. But I think again, uh, they were recording since '72 at this time, or releasing albums, and I think Columbia said, "Look, guys, we need the hit. You're not drawing them in terms of the numbers, in terms of the sales. We need something that we can work here." And this was their attempt. So that's my number three, Mirrors.
I find it interesting. Like you said, you are coming to a lot of this material fresh because you were not as familiar with some of it. So I find it interesting to compare your picks to mine as somebody who's been, deep into this catalog for decades.
Hmm.
So yeah, we some of our list is pretty much inverted,
Yeah, most of it is
which is
actually.
yeah, I mean that's cool. That's kind of the same thing that
Yeah. I
happened with
mean,
our rush rankings for some of them, which
yeah,
to me that's the sign of an interesting artist. If you get two people and the rankings are all over the map, that's an interesting catalog.
yeah. I mean, it would be kind of boring to say, okay, yours is your okay. What's your number 16? Oh, that's mine. What's your number 15? Oh, that's mine too. These
Yeah,
shows will be over in 20 minutes. Good luck. Go on. But I
I'm
mean,
aware. I'm well aware of what two I have left and what two you have left. One of them is shared. So we
yeah,
will have at least one in the top two that are the same. Whether they're in the same spot or not, let's find out.
remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
And
number two.
I already said I had four number ones basically, but it gets even tighter than that here. These two, man, it's a coin flip. Yeah. This was the hardest separation in my ranking. All right. But today I'm going with Spectres as my number two. I absolutely love this album. I think they took what they had learned on Agents of Fortune and improved upon it. Not commercially, obviously, but I think they really brought the songs here. They each were going for their individual voices. And this has three of my top 10 favorite Blue Oyster Cult songs on it. So the rest would really have to be crap for this album to rank much lower.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty high too. Yeah.
And those three songs for the record are Golden Age of Leather, I Love the Night, and Nosferatu. Uh,
Which ends off the album. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Nosferatu. Yeah,
and I Love the Night and Nosferatu, or as Joe sings it on the song Nosferatu. Those two album closers are the ones I was mentioning just earlier, comparing to Flaming Telepaths and Astronomy is
yeah.
among the greatest album closing pairs ever.
Hmm.
Uh, of course, Godzilla, that's the big, it's the opener. It's Donald's solo credit writing his follow up to Reaper, which was nothing like Reaper. I mean, it's got a monster
No,
theme, but it's big, goofy fun. I
no,
dig it. Has it ever been a favorite? Not really, but I do love the song. Uh, it's more on the cheesy Blue Oyster Cult side than the really spooky, dark, creepy, mysterious Blue Oyster Cult side. They definitely have those aspects to them. Um, but to me, the solo Donald credit on here that counts and that I thought in hindsight coulda, shoulda, would have been the follow up hit to Reaper is I Love the Night. Another
yeah,
vampire song, as is Nosferatu. So it's a 1-2 punch of vampire songs to close the album.
yeah,
Nosferatu is a Helen Wheels, Joe Bouchard combo. It and yeah, they're very different, but both vampire themed. Yeah, I Love the Night is Donald just perfect. That smooth voice that he had in those days, catchy pop hooks, just a lovely song
yeah.
about meeting this mysterious woman who may or may not be a vampire, but I'm pretty sure she was.
Well,
And
I'm
of
sure
course,
she was too.
Nosferatu, a vampire love song again, but the ending's not so happy for the vampire. Spoiler.
Yeah,
Um, Death Valley Nights, another Richard Meltzer lyric, which Albert seems to have an endless supply of even to this day. And it's a co-write with Albert, and Albert sings that song. Yeah, I dig that song a lot.
yeah,
It's got a creepy vibe to it. It's otherworldly.
yeah,
But Albert also brings the goods on the pop with Fireworks, which he also sings. Going Through the Motions is the only Eric Bloom song, and it's another co-write with Ian Hunter, who of course was also co-credited with "Let Go," from Revolution by Night, which we
yeah.
discussed in not necessarily flattering terms. So,
Hmm.
and some people think the same about this song. So I don't know if maybe Ian Hunter should not have been consulted in writing Blue Oyster Cult songs, but yeah, I like it. It's fun. It's total pop, which yeah, I'm cool with. That's kind of they were all over the map here, and that's one of the things I love about this album
Yeah,
that they weren't necessarily trying to fit. We have to be Blue Oyster Cult all through this album. I mean, Going Through the Motions has that big cheesy keyboard opening, the ding 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 ding, yeah, and this big bright melody and hooks, and yeah.
yeah,
So if you want deep, dark, mysterious Blue Oyster Cult or super heavy Blue Oyster Cult, you're only going to find it in limited quantities on this album. But if you want just a good, straightforward, hooky pop rock album, Spectres brings the goods. Um, there's the original back cover, by the way, without the writing that was on it, with the guys playing around with lasers that Armando referenced earlier in
yeah,
our previous episode.
yeah.
So yeah,
So then,
this is a classic. It absolutely should have been a huge follow up hit to Agents of Fortune, but that's not what was meant to be, apparently.
a lot of that too has got to do with uh, record company promotion because a record company can make or break an album um, very easily, very easily. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because the band have always been a band that, it's like hit and miss with their albums, right? They get one album that's a hit, next album kind of limps along, and you know what I mean? Like it's very spotty in terms of longevity, in terms of success, let's say. Um, Enough of my rambling. My number two, Fire of Unknown Origin, from 81. I've said previously, about albums in certain years that came out. I mean, and this year you had this album, you had Abacab. For those about to rock, we salute you, or for those about to rock. Uh, you had Foreigner 4. You had Santana, Z-Bob. You had all these fucking great albums. Human League, Dare, with Don't You Want
Journey
Me, and
Escape,
Journey Escape.
Sabbath Mob Rules, also produced by
Exactly.
Martin Birch.
There you go. You had all these great albums, and this album should be among them that's mentioned. And it's fucking not. I don't get this. I really don't get this. Um, Title track, Burning for You. You know, Burning for You is still played on classic rock radio today on K97 here in Edmonton. Any day of the week, any hour, you flip to it, it's there. It's playing or it's tailing out. Uh, Veteran of the Psych Ward, Psych Wars, I should say. A Psychic Wars, sorry. Veteran of the Psychic Wars, sorry. My eyes are really bad right now. Soul Survivor, Veteran of the Psychic Wars, and the heavy metal soundtrack that was included on it. They wrote more music for the soundtrack, but this track is featured on the album. Again, Soul Survivor, heavy metal, the Black and Silver, track 5 on side 1, Vengeance, The Pact, After Dark, the single Joan Crawford at just under 5 minutes that was supposed to be the hit of the album, but it really didn't hit with fans. Burning for You is a much better track. I don't know if it happens to you, but when I hear certain songs and it takes me back to a certain time frame, a certain memory. Like I hear Rhapsody, Bohemian Rhapsody, I'm 5 years old again. I hear this, I'm I'm 11. Like it takes me back in time. This is a really good album. Again, produced by Martin Birch, the last one to be produced by Martin Birch. Ends with Don't Turn Your Back. It's a good album. And I don't know why it's not mentioned along with For Those About to Rock, with Abacab, with For a Four from Foreigner. I don't know why it's mentioned. Maybe you can shed some light, but I don't get it. It's a great album. The production is great. That's my number two.
Obviously, I'm a fan of that album because today it's the fourth of my number ones. My number one.
My God.
Look at that cover. That is
Okay.
the greatest Blue Oyster Cult album ever. Greg Scott did a perfect representation of the Blue Oyster Cult themselves. I mean, that is maybe too on the money for some people, but I love it. I've always loved this cover. Uh, there's a bit of the back cover with, and you can see the chrono symbol on the lead cult member shirt here. Excuse the dogs in the background. Apparently, they also like Fire of Unknown Origin.
That's fine.
And a little close up the interior on the CD here. I just Greg Scott knocked it out of the park with the art.
Oh yeah, that is classic. That is like forget about it. It is what it is. You
But
know.
we're more to talk about the music. Uh, as you had mentioned, this was very much related to the heavy metal movie soundtrack. I think they expected to get a little more action on that soundtrack, which they
Yeah,
didn't.
which it should have.
And yeah, the only song that made it on there is Veteran of the Psychic Wars, which was not specifically written for the movie, oddly
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
And some of the songs, the words like you referenced, "Don't Turn Your Back," the last song in the album, that was also the final time Alan Lanier had a writing credit on a Blue Oyster Cult
yeah,
album,
yeah,
not counting the redo of "In Thee" years later. But that song, references a specific scene in one of the stories of the movie where the cab driver vaporizes someone in his back seat. If you listen to the lyrics, you know what I'm talking about. If you know the
I
movie,
know.
and
I have the
obviously,
movie. I have the
yeah,
movie.
yeah, I got my VHS, but I couldn't access it at the moment. I was going to bring it out, but
Yeah. I
and of
got the
course,
Blu-ray.
I'm eventually I'm going to get heavy
Yeah.
metal. they literally have a song called Heavy Metal, the Black and Silver. I mean, come on. And,
Yeah,
Degenerate Slobs of Orion. Yeah, Eric Kill's vocal. That one's a heavy rocker.
yeah,
Uh, Vengeance, The Pact. The Bouchard brothers are at it again. This is credited to Albert and Joe. And
yeah.
this, after Monsters, this is my second favorite Blue Oyster Cult song. I freaking love this thing.
Okay.
It's inventive. It's all over the map musically. And, the problem with this song being in the movie is that it essentially tells the whole story arc of the character Tarna and her part of this movie, which lasts much longer than this song. So, where the hell are you going to put this without spoiling what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Unless you put it over the closing credits or something, which I think would have been just fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, this song needs to be more well known as far as I'm concerned. It's just an absolute blast. I love singing along with it. The band just kill it here. And yeah, the story's fun. If you know the movie, you know the story of Tarna.
Yeah.
This the movie, of course, at the time was very titillating. Lots of
Yeah.
animated nudity and near nudity and sexual themes and whatnot, along with the horror violence and everything, sci-fi
Mhm.
violence, fantasy violence. But yeah, I just have
Bill just
always
had a moment there, guys, so that's okay.
yeah, I've always
Mhm.
loved this album. I don't think there's a weak track on it. Again, there's Soul Survivor, another one of those songs, an Eric Bloom thing
Yeah.
about aliens coming down again. But this time, oddly, the Soul Survivor hides. He doesn't let them take him away.
Yeah.
I found that odd and interesting, a different twist on Eric's alien stories there. Um, so yeah, my number one of my four number ones for today is Fire of Unknown Origin.
Good one. Good one. Yeah, and Heavy Metal, the movie featuring voice work from John Candy,
Yeah,
Eugene Levy. Oh my God. Cult classic, cult classic.
it's
Uh,
very of its time, but if you're of that time, you
you
probably know
know,
that movie.
you
Yeah,
know. If you know, you know.
yeah,
My number one, big surprise, Agents of Fortune from 76. Yes, yes, Houdini there with the cards. This is the band's biggest selling album, the breakout album, their fourth release featuring the classic, Don't Fear the Reaper, which was supposed to be for a Buck Dharma solo album, but he gave it to the band. Starts off 10 tracks in total, 36 minutes plus playing time. Starts off with This Ain't the Summer of Love, the second single from the album. Good heavy rock song. It did take me a while to get used to Eric Bloom's vocals, I gotta tell you, but I'm used to them now. True Confessions, Don't Fear the Reaper. Come on, I mean that guitar intro that comes in, that I don't know whether it's the amp that they use or the way they recorded the guitars. The guitars are so ominous to me. It's like you know what it is when you hear it. That's going to happen, right? And then Buck Dharma's vocals are so ethereal. They come in, right? They and sound very soft, but he's basically saying to his girlfriend, "Sweetheart, we're gonna die. Come with me. Let's go. Don't fear what's gonna happen. You're dying. This is your fate, but don't fear it. Just embrace it, and we can move on together." The lyric Romeo and Juliet are together in eternity. I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing for shit. But
um, if I may, on the lyric there, the this song is often mischaracterized as being about suicide, and it's not that at all. If you listen to
okay,
them tell what the song is about, it essentially is just about a love that
one
continues
has.
beyond
Yeah,
death. It's
yeah,
a love song. It's
Yeah.
not a suicide song at all. So I
No, but
just want to clarify that for people who are still under that
okay.
misunderstanding.
Okay, thank you for that. But I just even the breakdown section that comes in, that the little guitar motif, I guess you call it, that comes in, and then all hell breaks loose. The guitars come in heavy and swirling guitars, and then it just comes to an end, and then the main riff starts again, right? It's just a classic track. Other songs of note, The Revenge of Vera Gemini, featuring co-write with Patti Smith. And
And vocal also, which I forgot to mention earlier.
which one? Sorry?
The Revenge of Vera Gemini also features Patty on vocals with
On
Albert.
vocals, yeah, she kind of does like a call and answer with on the vocals. With it's Albert, if I'm
Yeah,
correct, on vocals. And this is the one album that was said where I guess, yeah, everybody in the band has a lead vocal on at least one track on the album. Sinful Love, Tattoo Vampire, Morning Final, Tenderloin, and it ends with Debbie Denise, which for me is the total opposite of what's on this album in terms of the song structure, the type of song it is. Again, talks about this, rock star who's on the road with his band, and he knows that his girlfriend or his wife is faithful to him at home, right? And he's on the road doing whatever he's doing, and he knows that she's at home being faithful to him, but he's still doing what he's doing.
yeah, it's sympathetic towards her, but not. He doesn't have enough
He
to
doesn't have
keep him from being
enough
bad.
sympathy yet to stop him from doing what he's doing. Is it going to affect what he's doing? Hell no, it ain't. But
Might explain Albert's many relationships. Sorry, Albert, just throwing that out there.
neither here nor there. But it's just, to me, it's a very. This was almost. I was flip flopping between this and Fire of Unknown Origin for my number one and two, but I stuck with this because it's a good album. It's a good heavy melodic rock album. It was what the band needed to keep going. This is their signature release. Uh, this is their Night at the Opera. This is their 2112. You know, Hotel California. You know, It- but it's a great album and it stands the test of time. And to me, Debbie Denise overall stands out on the album. Aside from Don't Fear the Reaper, yes, everyone knows Don't Fear the Reaper. But aside from that, Debbie Denise stands out on the album. It's a fantastic album closer. I think musically the arrangement is totally different, total opposite of what's going on the album overall. And I think it's a very well put together, very well crafted album. And it's number one on my list for that reason. It's number one on my list for a lot of reasons, but it's number one on my list. So there you go.
We survived it. We did it.
We did
Yep.
it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please put down the comments below uh, your list for number part two of Fearing the Reaper, ranking the albums of Blue Oyster Cult. Again, we want to get a dialogue going here. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of shit for my ranking. But I sit by my ranking. I don't stand. I sit by my ranking because I can't stand. Okay, it is what it is on my own accord. That is. Again, I want to thank Bill for this for joining me in on this episode series of episodes. It's been great. Any more to add for your?
No, thank you for being there with me and letting us do this because you know how much I love this band. So I could talk about them endlessly if you turn me loose and let me go. But we don't want to make this a 6 hour series. So
No, no,
I have
no.
a whole, well, here's a stack of some Blue Oyster Cult related albums. I got more behind me too, just to let you know. These are not Blue Oyster Cult albums. These are albums by members, offshoots, solo projects, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I can talk about this band a lot. And enjoy doing so. So yes, thank you
Well,
for that.
no, you're welcome. Maybe we'll do some more. Talk about
Right?
that off camera. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, please put your comments down below. Um, we want to get a dialogue going on this, and Bill and I always enjoy doing shows together. And you know, we've been through a lot of shows together. We've done a lot of shows. We are going to be doing more. We are going to be doing an episode called Outlaws and Heroes, where we're going to be
Yeah.
talking about country rock. And Bill is going to take the reins of that episode, and it's coming up soon. And we found out that Ken Cheshire is joining us on that episode, and we are going to be talking about country rock, its significance in the field of music, different bands that fit within this category. And because this is not my forte, Bill is going to take over on that. And we haven't decided whether or not it's going to be a multi-part run of episodes. I'm hoping it is because you know what? I love doing episodes with Bill. And again, join
See
us
how
for
windy
that.
we get.
It can get pretty windy.
Yeah.
That's what the edit button's for. But I love doing episodes with Bill, and we're going to have more ideas that we're going to be doing together. We're going to bring them to you as quickly as we possibly can. So, again, put your comments down below for your album ranking of Blue Oyster Cult, and click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell again to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up. And join us on X uh, for these shows. And yeah, for Bill Schuster, I'm Armando Venditti signing off. Please look after yourselves and one another. And we'll see you soon again on the Music Den. All right. Have a great day. Bye for now.